Welcome to Nirmaya Care, where health meets understanding. This video was originally published on nirmayacare.com. For an uncensored, ad-free version of this video and other health education content, visit nirmayacare.com.
Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to talk about something that's, well, super frustrating, sometimes a little embarrassing, and just incredibly common for so many of us: dandruff. But look, this isn't going to be some boring lecture. We're going to break down what's really happening on your scalp and, more importantly, how you can actually take back control.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's so much more than just a physical thing. It can really mess with your confidence. It's kind of like this constant, unwelcome guest that just won't leave.
You know, if you've ever done that quick shoulder check in a reflection before walking into a room, you are so not alone. In fact, some studies show that about 3 out of every 4 people are dealing with this. It's way more common than you think, which is exactly why we need to talk about what's really going on.
So, first things first, let's figure out what we're actually dealing with here. Because, not all flakes are created equal. And understanding that difference, that's your first real step toward finding a solution that works.
Okay, here's the big official term: seborrheic dermatitis. Yeah, it sounds a little scary, I know. But all you really need to know is that what we call dandruff is just the mildest version of this condition. We're talking about those loose, sometimes kind of greasy, white flakes that show up on your scalp.
Now, this is a super important distinction. Look, our scalps are skin, and skin sheds. So having a few little white flakes now and then, totally normal. But when it becomes this constant, heavy-duty flaking, and it comes with that relentless itch or even redness, well, that's when you've crossed the line into problem territory. That's what we need to address.
All right, so why? Why does this even happen? Getting to the root cause is everything, because once you know what you're fighting, managing it becomes a whole lot clearer. And it really just comes down to a perfect storm of 3 main things. And here they are, the 3 culprits. First, you've got this little fungus, a yeast called Malassezia furfur. Now, believe it or not, this guy lives on pretty much everyone's scalp. It only becomes a problem when it starts to overgrow, because it loves to feed on scalp oils. Second, it's you. Your own individual factors, like genetics and hormones, stuff you really can't control. And third, your environment. Things like pollution or that cold, dry winter air can kick things into overdrive. It's when these 3 things team up that you get that perfect storm for dandruff.
Okay, this next part is maybe my favorite. There is just so much bad information floating around about dandruff, and it creates all this unnecessary stress and stigma, so it's time we bust some of the biggest myths out there.
Let's start with the absolute biggest one, the one that makes people feel the most self-conscious.
Is dandruff just a sign that you're dirty or not washing your hair enough? The answer is a huge, resounding no. Let's be totally clear about this. Like we just saw, it's about a fungus, your body's unique sensitivity, and your environment. It has absolutely nothing to do with being dirty. You could be the cleanest person in the world and still have dandruff.
All right, next up, that fear that you might spread it. So can you catch dandruff from someone or give it to them? Again, that's a hard no. Dandruff is an inflammatory thing happening on your scalp. It is not an infection you can pass around. Sharing a brush, a towel, a hat, none of that is going to spread it. So you can totally let go of that worry.
What about that classic home remedy everyone seems to suggest?
Oh, you have a dry, flaky scalp? Just put some oil on it. Sounds logical, right? Well, for most people with dandruff, this is actually a terrible idea. Remember that fungus we talked about, Malassezia? It loves to eat oil. So when you load up your scalp with more oil, you're pretty much throwing an all-you-can-eat pizza party for the very thing that's causing the problem. It can make things so much worse.
And finally, let's tackle what is probably the most serious worry of them all. Can dandruff make you go bald? Okay, take a deep breath, because here's some really good news. The condition itself does not cause permanent hair loss. However, and this is a big however, that maddening itch that comes with it can lead to a lot of scratching. And all that scratching can damage your hair follicles, which can cause some temporary hair shedding. So the real takeaway here is get the itch under control and you'll protect your hair.
Now, this chart is incredibly useful, because sometimes what looks like dandruff isn't. This is your quick guide to tell the difference. So for example, look at that first row. Tinea capitis, which is a different kind of fungus, is contagious, where we know dandruff isn't.
Or check out the clue row, because this is your big tell. If you're seeing things like little black dots from broken hairs or really thick silvery white scales, that is a huge sign you might be dealing with something more than just dandruff, and it's probably time to see a doctor.
Okay, so we know what it is, we know what causes it, and we definitely know what it isn't. Now for the best part. What on earth do you do about it? Let's build a simple, clear action plan right now.
Here are your 4 essential do's. Number 1, find an anti-dandruff shampoo that works for you. And then, and this is key, be consistent with it. You gotta stick with it. Number 2, manage your stress. Seriously, stress can cause major flare-ups, so taking care of your mental health is also scalp care. And finally, if the stuff from the store just isn't working, please don't be afraid to see a dermatologist. They can get you the help you need.
And just as important are the don'ts. First, like we said, don't pour oil on the fire. Step away from the coconut oil. Second, and this is a big one, don't stop your routine the second things get better. This is about management, not a one-time cure. Also, try not to product hop and switch shampoos every week. Give one a fair shot to actually work. And finally, please don't ignore the red flags. If it's getting worse, super itchy, or really red, that's your scalp telling you it's time to get professional help.
And honestly, this is what it's all about. When you understand the science, you can finally let go of the myths and the shame. This isn't some personal flaw. It's just a common condition. And having the right knowledge gives you the power to handle it with confidence.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Now that you have all this information, what is one simple, concrete step you can take for your scalp, maybe even starting today? Maybe it's just committing to using that shampoo regularly, or maybe it's finally picking up the phone to call a dermatologist. You've got the knowledge. The power to change things is right there in your hands.